Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Buzz, hosted here at the Northern Plains UAS test site. This week, we are live from the UAS Summit and Expo in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Today is kickoff day. It's starting pretty fun, but we figured we're going to take things a little bit different today. We have a series of speakers that are going to be stopping by the booth just to say hi, ask them a few questions, focusing on, well, what's the buzz at the summit this week. So first up, I'm joined here by Scott Meyer. I'll let him introduce himself. He's got a couple different hats that he wears here in North Dakota, and I'm really excited to engage with him and ask him a few questions about what's on his mind at the UAS Summit this week.
Awesome. Good morning, Erin. So Scott Meyer, Director of Engagement at Grand Sky, but I also serve in the North Dakota Senate, where I serve in appropriations. And with North Dakota and the UAS test site, it's become one of those big ways we can diversify our economy from energy and agriculture. And watching this UAS industry and autonomy grow has been really exciting. So when I look at my Senate hat, that's the part that gets me really excited to go to the Capitol and keep working on this initiative.
Perfect. So we just kicked off a little bit of an interesting situation this year with not having maybe as much government presence as we have in the past. That said, though, it's not absent. So we're still having that conversation thus far, which again, we're an hour into the expo. What would you say has been the biggest buzz that we're hearing around the floor?
Really, yeah, you're right. There's still a lot of folks walking around, and you're still seeing military, uniformed military folks here, which I thought might be a big cutback on that. Obviously, yes, the keynote speakers, that's going to make a hit, but I think there's still so much value to be here and the connections that you can make. That's why there's still that buzz around here. It's not like a negative feeling here at all. I still let's keep talking to people and, find these companies that one should come to North Dakota, but also just help with our national defense.
Great. And so talked about the federal legislatures and things, but you yourself being state legislature, why is UAS such a strategic priority for North Dakota?
Well, yeah, again, we've been putting a big investment into the UAS in ecosystem here, building out the Vantis network, and again, trying to recruit these companies. So we really do need to diversify our economy and have this workforce initiative. But I've seen about a half a dozen lawmakers already walking through, and it was actually kind of shocking when I turned the corner and some of the senators be from out west. And my big push is to try to get them here to see what's going on. It's not just a quadcopter flying around. There's so much more to this industry and what it comes with. And you see these companies that are here from California or Florida, and they just love being here and being a part of this. So when they're buzzed up to be here and excited to be here, I want to showcase that to my colleagues in Bismarck. And
what's been their reaction thus far? If for those that are, have been here before, that are new to it?
Yeah, they're just blown away. They have no idea. And again, it's part of it. So that's my other, if I put my Grand Sky hat on, a director of engagement, it's I want to get you out on site, let you see some of these companies like our partners at the test site or Northrop Grumman and General Atomics. And then you start talking about the TRMC and you start talking about counter UAS, because a lot of folks understand that one too, right? They remember in New Jersey when the drones were up in the sky at night. We talked about this in a panel yesterday, and they understand that and they know it's a problem and what we have to do. And yes, it's going to take an investment as a state, and really we want to have these companies set up shop here. The regulations, the speed to work with you guys, and low population centers. Everything it's just a great spot to come up and fly.
Yeah, so you mentioned the panel yesterday, but it was actually more than a panel. It was a whole, training exercise on counter UAS and understanding that threat. That hasn't been done at the summit before. For all the years that I've been here, that's brand new. So I really like that. So far, that's my main takeaway. For our audience, can you talk a little bit about that? What's going to come out of that? What people should watch for if they weren't part of that exercise?
Yeah, so it was P3 Consulting and Venable and Grand Sky partnered up with this Defending the Homeland simulation. We tried to break it out into 4 groups. We had a DoD group, we had a university group, we had a government group, more or less policymakers, and then we had an infrastructure group, i.e., energy, and then the test site with the towers and comms, and really. It was these simulations and these different injections, and we talked through and walked through it all. And I was blown away at the conversations that came from it, because maybe you thought one way, but then another company completely was 180 from you, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd say, some people maybe thought it was someone else's job to, the emergency management, who's in charge of that. And it's weird because maybe not everybody was singing off the same sheet of music, but that was enlightening, and there was a lot of great feedback. I hope we can continue it next year and get a lot more people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of folks that signed up for it that I was actually kind of shocked. So,
Yeah, so like you said, it was a good group of people that were everywhere from the local legislators to the adjutant general to the base commander.
Yep.
So fabulous attendance to actually like engage with a very educated perspective on how that situation would unfold. And it's not done though, because like the outcome of that, as I said yesterday, is going to be a white paper that gets put out there that I think others can read and respond to. Because I don't know how many, what we learned in my sector on the energy side is there's not really a playbook for, counter UAS attack yet. However, we were able to look at procedures and policies that critical infrastructure and the energy sector does have in place and go, look, it's not that different. We just need to think about it through these couple different lenses.
100%, right? Yeah, you got this playbook in place, but it's not necessarily for this. Then it becomes, how about, how do we maybe scare the public too much if we get too over our skis? But, and then it wasn't just, energy grids. We're talking, cell phone towers and all of these people now they're thinking about it this different way. What happens is what's their first priority? Well, then for them, we figured out like a simulated attack on a grid. Well, it was employment safety first. Let's our employees safe. Then it is, how do we do our assessment? Do we need to have security? Do we have national? It was just where you can kind of go down these rabbit holes, but it's important that we have these conversations. You can't just bury your head in the sand. And hopefully with this white paper, we'll find some policy maybe we can take on as a state. Maybe we can have it as federal. Because we had staff from our CODEL there, and maybe they can walk away and say, we've missed this. And it's right in front of us.
Yes.
It's right in front of our nose, but we didn't realize it. So I hope that's what would come out of this.
So like I said, I kind of pre-led that of like, that's my main takeaway. That's the most exciting thing of the conference thus far. How about you? What your best conversation, most exciting takeaway?
Obviously it was kind of cool to see some of the Air Force Battle Lab stuff, the announcement with Senator Hoeven, and then the AV with their counter UAS coming through. So those are some big things. And I just, the counter world, it's even since I've been with Grand Sky in the last year and a half and with Ukraine war and how it's shifted even a little more from the large drone to the counter small UAS to the cargo delivery. It's just, this industry is changing so fast. They have to be much more nimble, especially as the policy side. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing, I guess, so far for me would be in this short amount of the summit would be the announcements by Senator Hoeven. But
perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for your time. We'll get to our next guest, but really appreciate you being here. Anything else you want to close up with?
Next time I'll have more hair. So, awesome.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay. Well, next up, I am joined by Johnny Ryan, who is the managing director at the Hive, which is the tech accelerator here in Grand Forks, dedicated to UAS.
Yep.
I've said before that I think the Hive is one of the best things that happened to this town because it really put all the UAS companies, small to large, in one physical space and really gave them an opportunity to collaborate, discuss, learn from each other, and grow better together. So first, please introduce yourself because you can do a better job than I did.
Yeah, I'm Johnny Ryan, the managing director at the Hive. We've been around for just over 2 years now since we were able to sign leases. But we basically went all in on UAS. America first, mission related. We've stuck to that mission since day one. We've got the right partners like Vantis, Grand Sky, MTSI, to just name a few. We have over 35 companies that have some full-time commitment in the Hive monthly, that whether that's their permanent only office or that's where they started, or this is their North Dakota flagship headquarters for a larger company that might be 2,000 employees plus. So we kind of cater to all sides of the industry, but we're really like, North Dakota mission first, try to enable companies to work together. And, I say like a lot of these companies will compete. We have companies in the same kind of micro vertical, but they'll compete Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, if you want to put it that way, they're overlapping on things they need to collaborate on, shared contracts, RFQs, whatever their RFPs, whatever they go after. And, trying to find the right companies from other states that need to be enabled to move faster, which this industry is moving so fast that you can't do business size or speed of email. And so in person at the Hive, that's kind of the value add, I think. there to figure things out.
So it's day one of the summit. Thus far, what's been, the buzz that you've been hearing?
I mean, obviously, counter UAS is at the front of everybody's conversations. I think there's a lot of learning still to be done there of what's possible quickly, without making things worse potentially, or putting yourself in a liability situation for how that works. But I think North Dakota now is kind of transitioning into, hey, we can cover the most tested advanced aircraft, but we can also cover very experimental, early stage, very quick, rapid prototype for all types of applications, whether it's DARPA or it's some commercial delivery. We can handle it all with test site and talent that can quickly iterate some product or some widget that they need. I mean, I think we can handle kind of all of it.
Well, Scotty was just talking about the counter UAS exercise that we had yesterday, and there's two main things that I always come up with counter UAS. Is it the fact that we don't see more counter UAS technology in place? Is it technology, or is it the authorities that come with it?
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It was kind of a hand in hand both of well, we need the authorities there so that it creates a market demand for the technologies to advance. But we did see some pretty cool technologies that were there. Yep. We had, as Scotty mentioned, there was the AeroVironment announcement yesterday on how they're getting into some counter UAS surveillance type space. Drone Shield was one of the big sponsors of the exercise and brought in their technology that was really fascinating. You and I both know, though, of all the different vendors in counter UAS, because of the expansive UAS, counter UAS testing events that have happened in North Dakota. I would say it's our best kept secret. Of course, we can't do the headlines on that stuff because it is still a lot of times, classified or at least controlled information. Yeah. But we've seen the exercises that take place at Camp Grafton, and luckily, under our state leadership, they're all in and helping us test this not only for critical infrastructure but also for military purposes. And you see that, at the Hive as well with some of the technologies that are coming through those doors. I mean, your stance, your take.
Yeah, I think it's a scrappier version all the way up to the most expected way of testing and iterating. If you're used to building something over 4 years and testing that way, and with your digital twin, we can accommodate that. If it's this thing popped up last night with 3D printers, where's some farmland, or where's some trailer that you could cut CNC and make a I mean, I think we cover kind of all that in a really exciting way, where this is actually going right to market, right to test, right to people's hands, quickly get feedback, and we don't stop. So it's when people show up to North Dakota, when they see how committed we are, and we kind of say, hey, here's actually what we have here, I think they're kind of blown away, to the point where they're immediately thinking, we maybe need to move our whole company here to test whatever. And then, and that's not us planting that idea in their head. They're just seeing, okay, we have all these partners. How could we possibly have done it without these? We don't even know that we need all these partners yet. Right. Or maybe at a stage where they don't realize you're going to need these 20 things, and you may be in a silo in a different city, which is great for developing UAS autonomous system. That's great. But you kind of need to rely on some other partners, to learn from their mistakes, have them guide you, kind of keep turning you a little bit if you go off track. And I think we can accommodate all types of those companies, from idea to, the largest companies in the world that show up to Grand Forks with a moment's notice or no notice at all. So it's exciting.
I'm obviously very familiar with, not just the state's commitment to, UAS is a good thing, but their investment in it as well. So between the test site, I get to say I'm from the government, I'm here to help. I'm a state of North Dakota employee. We run the Vantas program being the state's infrastructure, right? Investment in UAS to support surveillance and beyond visual line of sight.
That's a good point, because
they're putting their money where their mouth is.
When you think okay, we've heard this before in other states, there's, some investment behind it, or private sector, well, that's great. But the fact that the state has made an investment, they're, tied financially, and they're connected to this effort, they're not going anywhere. So, I mean, they are going to see this investment through that. All these, where they put their, smart dollars really is going to pay off when we're industry leaders for enabling this technology. And I think, the layers that we have here for, our political representation is so much faster. Just the right answers. It might not be it's always a yes, but it will at least talk through it quicker than probably anybody and get it right in the hands of those who need it. I think the counter UAS is, it's not going to be company A versus company B. It's going to be a layered approach of okay, here's tiles, like that. There's a tile that covers, hey, there's something coming towards, that's encroaching. Okay, there might be multiple systems that catch that flag that, okay, it's past this, something needs to maybe interact with it. Okay, something needs to maybe potentially jam it or whatever the response is. I think it's tiles of all different types of companies that build as many different cases of it can catch as many scenarios as possible. And really the information is the biggest thing of who who's flying that drone. How do you know that drone from a police drone? Visually, I mean, you would have no idea.
And then they go, well, remote ID. And we all know in the industry the gaps that technology has. And we wish it was better and identify kind of that friend or foe. But we got a long way to come if we're actually going to see some counter UAS.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, on the state's investment side of things, like what's interesting to me is that it ebbs and flows. I will be honest there. It's not like the state's always super eager to keep continuing investments, but they're not completely backing away.
Yeah.
And I think that really shows this different dynamic in North Dakota that is overlooked.
Yeah.
But it really does show like, hey, look, we recognize there's longevity in this, diversifying our economy, as Scott had mentioned. That's really important. And you saw that from the Hive side too, because the Hive wasn't just a private investment.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, we had an idea and we had an opportunity for a EDA match grant from the city. And so the Economic Development Agency and national one put in $1.2 million to match. It seems like a lot of money when you look at the matches for other states and that for similar things. We're talking $60-70 million and maybe a project flops. Almost immediately they came through and said, wow, you actually did what you said you're going to do in the proposal. And you have people in here you said you're going to get the right partners, and they're here and they're like, wow, I mean, this is, you've really stuck to what you're going to do. I think that's a very small investment for the byproducts that come from it. I mean, I think this thing's moving so fast that you can't stop it now. It's rolling down the hill and in a good way. And so, we're kind of like, hey, if there's companies willing to show up here, make the commitment, like we can tell you're serious. I think North Dakota gives 10 times the energy back that, it's just how we're built. If the company is putting this amount of time and effort and energy, we want to match that to an extent.
Yeah. So for us that are passionate, we have a pretty big appetite for always wanting to do more and go beyond. So if we had one ask from either the regulator, the FAA, or of industry, what would that ask be?
Wow, one ask.
Magic wand to just make all the regulations go away and
yeah, I mean, I think regulations are good in this industry, because it forces people to really think about what's the point of all this. Potentially, if we make something too crazy wild, I mean, I'm myself I wouldn't want to make some widget that enables chaos.
Right.
So I think being a little bit cautious on that is good. I don't have a regulation ask necessarily. That's Scott's department, but I think that more ways that companies that are used to maybe going after Air Force related contracts, things like that. I'm more on the side of, hey, there's probably a faster route if your technology is what it says it is, and we can get it in front of the right people quickly. There's investment, private investment in a totally different way in North Dakota. I mean, personally, you can do a demo and potentially a farmer might cut a check, and maybe you're not looking for some giant investment, but that's a much faster route than, this phase, whatever changed, and now we're stuck. And just kind of stalled and waiting. I think if it covers the private industry, it will cover everything else. And I think that's, in my mind, a faster route to get your product, to where it needs to be, the next level, the next stage. And I think that there's always an opportunity for any company. So I think two companies last night said, hey, they see these big companies. Do you think there's still place for these, smaller ones? And I'm looking at theirs you're not in the small category at all of companies in my mind, but I'm saying absolutely there is. I mean, there's even for counter UAS, things that will test the counter UAS systems need to be, perfected, tested drones. They need to be scrappy drones that might crash. It needs to be all kinds of chaos. So that's a whole different thing we're talking about that you need to have to even test your counter drone system. So it's everything. It's not just some system that's going to shoot down a drone. It's what could come at this, kind of invisible shield. And I think that enables, that opens it up for anybody, really. So
we got a lot of stuff.
I didn't answer your question.
No, you're fine. It's good. So,
and we do have the best hockey team in the world. So
it's going to be a good weekend of that too. So we have a lot of cool tech and exhibitors and companies and things happening. What's the one thing you're looking forward to most this week? Other than hockey.
I'd say the event tonight, the Hive, is always a good time. I think, people that come here and they're different flight schedules, or they got delayed, or they're setting up something, or they're giving a talk. I think that's a time for them to kind of just breathe and have no expectation. And really, like, I think that 2 hour, 3 hour window, like, if you're smart about it, like, you could meet every connection that you needed in North Dakota, from politicians to creators to R&D to someone who, you know, knows UAS patent law probably better than anyone. And they're all in that room. You just got to find them. So I'm looking forward to that.
Perfect. So the networking.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, speaking of networking, thank you for being here. I think we're out of time. I don't see my third guest today. So once again, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Buzz. My name is Erin Roesler with the test site here in North Dakota. Best kept secret, but we're trying to get the word out there. Thank you to Johnny and Scott for joining me today. If you haven't been to the UAS Summit and Expo here in Grand Forks, North Dakota, you should come check it out. It's still pretty buzzing. And obviously, it's been probably one of the longest running UAS conferences that exist. So we're happy to host you next year. Reach out to our team. We'll be glad to get you connected on how you can follow all the updates for next year if you're unable to make it this year. Otherwise, thank you once again for joining us on Beyond the Buzz.